legal battle between Apple and the government shifting to Capitol Hill now, with both sides urging Congress to weigh in on the encryption case. Fox confirming that the Justice Department is seeking Apple's assistance in extracting data from devices in 12 other federal cases. Joining us right now is Optiv Vice President of Cloud Security, J.D. Sherry. J.D., good to see you.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. This is getting bigger in terms of Apple's assistance in breaking into some of these phones. Where do you stand on this issue?
Yeah, well, first of all, Maria, thanks for having me on the program. Unfortunately, this debate has come about because of the tragic issues in San Bernardino. So thoughts and prayers go to the families, and friends, ultimately, their issues there that they're dealing with and grappling with. So from my perspective, I think we have a serious challenge with what we would call the Internet of Things that's going on, right? So mobile phones being a huge factor in that. These are elements that ultimately are going to continue to be involved in crimes of terrorism, and all of these focuses are going to be a huge issue. So from my perspective, I think where we're facing is that technology is going to continue to outkick its coverage when it comes to the legislation, and Arthur knows this better than anything, is from a legal perspective, but we're going to have the grapples of the First Amendment versus the Fourth Amendment, and I think that's what's going to shake out now with this debate. I mean, you've got all of these states, Arthur, obtaining court orders directing Apple to help federal investigators gain access to the data on iPhones. But then you have this worry that it's a slippery slope. First we thought it was one phone. Now we have all of these other cases. And another question is, why is Apple the only one to do this? Why can't our own law enforcement and our own intelligence agencies get to this data?
Yeah, well, that question is a little bit scary, that we can't figure that out. The other thing is, look, in the world of criminal law, 50 states all around, search and seizure is a primary issue. 250 years ago, the British soldiers were allowed to kick in your door anytime they wanted to and go through all of your stuff.
Yeah.
And our founding fathers, I mean, that was their primary thing, is you cannot do that. And this is just an offshoot of that. I mean, the answer to me is so simple. The feds could go to Apple and be like, look, here's the phone. Just give us a thumb drive with everything on it. We don't need to know how you got it, what you got it.
That's
but
what
we
they're
need
asking
to know
for,
that.
and Apple says no. That's essentially what.
But Apple says that's not what they're asking for.
But
Apple says whatever if they come up with a software program, that software program is going to be out there, and the bad guys will be able to access.
Because they can't protect their own IP. Apple has never disputed
that's exactly
the fact that Apple has never disputed that the government's going to give them the phone and say, you keep the phone, you keep the technology, you keep the software. We want to remotely crack the code on the phone. We will never take possession of that. Tim Cook is arguing that because he's trying to win this case and win over the hearts and minds of his followers. But I don't know what the precedent is.
Well, here's the thing. When the DOJ says that this is a marketing strategy, this is a selling point. When you actually buy a phone, the companies actually say, as a bragging right, we never see your data, we can't access your information.
And their business would plummet if people felt like they were in the pocket of government.
Then all of a sudden, now you have a situation where you have to trust a company, and then, of course...
But just legally speaking, the hurdle to get over is to get a judge to sign a warrant. So once a judge signs a warrant, government can go into your house. You have to have probable cause that there are drugs there, there are illegal guns there. So once you get to that point, then in my legal opinion, Apple has to comply with a lawful warrant from a judge.
Yeah, I think that's why it comes back to they're arguing First Amendment versus the FBI's position as the Fourth Amendment of coming in saying we have reasonable probable cause for this issue. But I want to come back to the design of this Internet of Things and Pete's comment earlier around autonomous cars, things of that nature. Think about where we're going with this, right? Mobile phones used as an element of corroborating and an element of terrorism. Well, as we expand the Internet of Things, this could be drones, this could be cars that potentially might be used in terrorist acts. This encryption debate and what the government is legally entitled to do to determine what is at fault or what the issues here in a case is going to come into the forefront. So we focus on working with companies and the partner ecosystem that develop these technologies, right, around planning and building and running these types of things so we can accurately determine the right approach to enable this transformation.
But you're making the point that it's a slippery slope. That's the point. You're making the point that it could be Ford Motor that has to give up it could be anybody.
It's going to be significant.
J.D., good to see you. Thanks so much for weighing in. J.D. Sherry will